Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be doing a very detailed full build guide for how to build a 16,000 watt hour lithium phosphate battery. This is from Dokin or Apexium, I'm not sure who. The links will be in the description and you can figure that out yourself. So this has been a huge to-do for me, both because I was really excited to get everything together and working, but also because it was like one of the few projects that was holding up a bunch of other stuff that comes after it. The entire dining room table was literally covered with the supplies for this build for a couple of weeks. And I ended up having to take everything to the garage, and Nova and I just suffered through the Florida heat of an un-air conditioned garage to bring you the build and the recommendations that are going to follow. So first of all, let me get the negatives out of the way because nothing is perfect. And there are a few compromises here. So if those compromises are or will be an issue for you, I can't say, but I'm going to list them so that you know. My number one complaint about the battery is also one of its best characteristics. It's freaking huge and it's heavy. I mean, it's so heavy, you better have some friends to help you with it. There is a reason I was building it inside of the dining room, and that's so that I could just wheel it down the hallway and into my office behind me where it's going to live. So just moving this from the garage and into the house, getting up the step was such a huge effort, and it was too heavy that my wife couldn't even lift it to help me move it. So I did the stubborn Marine thing and I moved it all by myself, and I shouldn't be doing stuff like that when I've already had 2 back surgeries. But the amount of power you get from these batteries and the money you save could easily, you could pay for the battery and then have money left over to go pay someone else to help you move this stuff. And you'll still come out way ahead. Now, the second big thing to understand is that this battery is not UL listed. It's just as nice, if not nicer, than any UL battery out there, but you're not paying for that extra certification, so you get to pocket the cost savings. But that means you're not able to officially use this battery in any capacity that would require a UL product. So an example would be, I'm getting a grid-tied inverter inspection for net metering, and I'm gonna need UL batteries for that. So if you can get around those 2 things, or they don't apply to you, then definitely this is something to look at. And if it's so much a great deal that I wish I had found a video like this before I bought all my batteries, and I definitely would have gone this rate instead. I would have bought 8 of these, just stacked them 4 and 4. I would have had a much more capacity, less cost, and a faster return on investment for my solar project. So for the video, I decided the RD6030 power supply build guide was very effective in how I narrated it, using high quality photography and just adding live narration and screen markup for the educational parts. So I'm just going to do that same process again. It's a lot easier as a solo content creator with no camera person. Filming the build would have taken a lot longer to watch, and I'd probably be constantly in the way of the camera because I was focusing on what I'm doing and not what I'm filming. So without further ado, get comfortable, open your mind, and it's time to learn something new today. Okay, real quick, I just wanted to show you basically the leftovers of what you're going to have after you follow this entire video, just so you know you will have some leftover parts. Because there's the DIY battery box that comes with its own set of supplies, then you've got the EVE cells, which also come with their own set of supplies. You're gonna have a few extras. So all of these protective like guards, those all came with the EVE cells, so I didn't use them, I used the ones that came with the box. Same for the bus bars. I thought these were actually gonna be flexible bus bars. I was excited about that, but I don't think they are. But they don't have the center tap for the BMS. So I ended up not using those. I used the ones you get with the box instead. We got a little communication cable, some extra screws. You see the +2 pieces, so they give us extras for like washers, extras for screws, extras for the nuts and everything. This package we didn't end up using because that's for the stacking brackets, and since we're not stacking any batteries, we didn't use it. And here's some leftover adhesive paper for the pressure. When you actually bolt everything down, you do compression on the cells. And so one of those is installed between all the batteries. So that's the stuff you should be left over with. Once I get done with the office, swapping the new battery in, finally I can put the last 2 eco-worthy batteries in that cabinet and finish this up. Which is also an important thing to mention real quick. When you're adding a new battery to a system, you have to know how to do that right and safely. These batteries, if I power them on and look at the BMS, they're all synced at 30%. So let me go to the office and show you what's going on in there real quick. All right, so after the build yesterday, I've connected the battery to the charger and I've been letting it run. So we have a 0.009 volt delta between all the cells, which is really awesome. This touch screen just makes it really easy to navigate and see everything. So this is ready to add into the mix. This is where it's going to go. We're going to be recapturing those 2 eco-worthy batteries to put in the rack in the garage. And there's my very first battery, my Orient Power battery. This is a big mama jamma. You know, it's 12,000 watt hours, but this is 16,000 watt hours. And it is just a massive, huge battery compared to everything else. So yeah, we're gonna, basically I've charged this to 100%, and then I'm gonna charge that battery to 100% before I interconnect them. But these 2 batteries, I'm going to discharge them until they reach 30%. Because I know they are the exact same battery as what I have on the rack, and they have their own BMS, I could just use the BMS readings to ensure that the batteries will match when I connect them. What will happen with these lithium batteries, if you're not matching the state of charge, the higher charged battery will start dumping all of its power to the lesser charged batteries, and that huge swing of power can blow your fuses, it can melt your wires, it can do a lot of things that you don't want it to do. So the best practice is always charge to 100% before you interconnect your batteries. But if you know what you're doing, like you have identical batteries with BMSs, you can just make sure they're at the same state of charge. But you cannot go off of voltage alone because of how lithium batteries have such a flat voltage discharge curve. So just a little extra bonus information. Let's go ahead and get into our build. All right, everyone, welcome to the meat and potatoes portion of this video, which is going to be the actual step-by-step build process. So the way this is laid out is all the legwork was done up front. I went and I took hundreds of photos, and then I went through in Lightroom and I kind of picked out the best of the best photos so we can just kind of flow through this build process. Along the way, I'll be pointing out what we're doing. So this is what you need to do for this step. Any gotchas, catch-22s, things to look out for. That's the important stuff. And just kind of point out any stuff I've learned along the way. So that way, when you get to the point that you're putting this together with the help of this video, you'll feel very confident that you have everything you need to do well under control and you won't make any mistakes. Even Will has apparently fried 2 different BMSs that I know of, and one of them was on this very same battery build. So we'll make sure that you don't fry yours. Now let's go ahead and talk about getting started with the build here. You get the DIY battery box and you get the lithium cells. You're ordering 2 things. The link will be in the description of the video to go to the same storefront that I bought it at. I also reached out to them and said, is there any coupon codes you can give me for viewers? And they gave me some coupon codes. That was like over a month ago. I don't know if they're still valid. Hopefully they are. An extra discount for you, no extra for me. They're not affiliate links. I don't have any affiliation at all. I'm not paid for this review. I'm not sponsored by this review. This is my own money I spent, and I'm just sharing the knowledge with you. So as we go through the slideshow here, I'll show you what you get. So we ordered 8 boxes worth of cells, and there's 2 cells in each box. So you have 16 lithium cells all together. These are Eve cells, which are just pretty much known to be the best of the best. They have 8,000 cycles each. So I have a very high confidence in saying that most of your pre-built stuff, like your EcoFlows and your Blue Eddies and etc., they're going to be using inferior grade cells inside of their batteries that will not last as long as these. So you're getting top-notch, top-quality components, and you're building it yourself so you know everything is put together right. So I love that peace of mind you get from this DIY build. You know you have the best parts, and you know it was done right. So basically I did a little stop-motion intro on the intro video, the short video I already posted earlier in the day. If you saw that intro already, I kind of messed around with you with the floating battery. I just photoshopped that out for funniness. But that's what it looks like when you get all done of it. You got 16 cells. Each one of those cells comes with the yellow sheets, which are there to line the battery box with, and it comes with bus bars and the nuts to lock them down. I didn't know as I was building it initially that we would use none of this because the battery box itself comes with its own set of supplies that are better suited for the task. This I wanted to show you as well. The shipping I think is very important. These cells all shipped in their own little cardboard boxes, 2 each, and they have this ridiculously thick foam that goes on the top and the bottom and then sandwiches the cells. It is like inches thick in every direction. And you can see that nothing here like has a single scratch on it. These cells are immaculate. So I actually was really impressed with that. And so it's worth giving a shout out. The shipping was spot on. The products are spot on. Everything was flawless. So So as we step through the photo shoot, pretty soon we're going to hit the battery box. So it's going to be one big box separate from everything else. And once you open it up, it's going to come already assembled basically. So this is going to save you a lot of work, because I've seen some of these DIY boxes where you're going to get all of the individual components and you have to build every single part of it. This is pretty much already assembled. You're going to unbolt a few things to get your cells in, and then connect your cells together and then bolt it back together is essentially the gist of it. But you can obviously make mistakes, and you have to be careful, because Will Prowse just did a build on a very similar clone battery, and he miswired his and he fried his BMS. And I don't have a lot of money like Will, so I don't want to fry my stuff, and you probably don't either. So watch the video closely and you'll ensure that you don't make any mistakes. So the first thing to do though is we're going to remove some screws. So here, 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 and here. We got about 4 spots, and you're going to remove those screws. And when you remove those screws, you'll be able to take the top plate off. 4 screws removed, and boom, the top plate comes off, and this is what you're going to see inside. So the front panel is already completely assembled. The actual BMS channels there, they are wrapped in saran wrap. And then you have a separate package with all of your parts. And then there's a separate plastic bag that's sitting in the bottom right-hand corner, which is this guy. And it's a link to the instructions and all of that. And it's also a sticker, so you can put it right on the box so you don't lose them if you need them in the future. I'll show you where that link goes to in just a minute. So I unwrapped the saran wrap while they were bolted in place. Don't do that. Unbolt these bars and then just take the saran wrap off after the fact. Once you open up that bag that's inside of there, these are all the parts you're going to see. So yeah, there's our little install box sticker. These are the actual nuts we're going to use to secure our bus bars. Here's the bus bars we're going to use. One key difference between this one and the one included with the cells is this center tap. And this is where all of the actual BMS connections are going to go, is on these center taps. These are our stacking brackets, and these are the screws for those stacking brackets. Since I only have one DIY battery box, I'm not stacking them. I'm not using these 2. These are our washers for the bus bars. These are the black screws for the actual box itself. And then we got some silver screws right here that we're going to be using to lock down the BMS connections. So you see all that as we get to it. And then you have your foam. This is your compression foam, your foam for the BMS connections, and then your yellow safety sheets. So we undo 8 of these bolts, and there's 2 on each side of these BMS channels. So 1 bolt here, 1 bolt there, 1 bolt here, 1 bolt there, and then on the other side the same. These are already pre-wired to the front panel. So you have an option here. You can do what I did initially, and I just unbolted the front. Again, just like the top, there was only 4 screws to undo. And they're in the 4 corners. And after you take those 4 screws out, you can remove everything together. So the entire front panel is already assembled. The BMS is already connected in the right spot. You can just leave it like that and not have to worry about accidentally putting something in the wrong place. Then you're going to be left with this. This step requires you to now go and remove these screws across the front, the compression bracket is what I'll call it. You're going to remove this plate, and then it's going to give you the space you need to start inserting all your lithium cells. So go ahead and undo all of those screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there we go, our 7 screws. And take that front plate off. And now we're going to grab that foam for the BMS, and we're going to start working on other stuff. So how you lay these protective sheets in, they're self-adhesive. They're only going to fit in a specific way, so it shouldn't be too challenging. The wider pieces fit down at the bottom, pushing them all the way back into the box so that they fit right into those corners. Then you have some slightly less wide pieces that are going to be your walls, and then your smaller square spaces are going to be your back and your front, and the front will have to do last. So this kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like. I haven't actually taken the adhesive off and actually attached it down yet. I did a dry fit first, and then I took the adhesive off and locked them all into place. Not too challenging, you should be fine. And it's a nice rigid material, so if you do accidentally have it stick somewhere you don't want it to, you can pull it back off and reattach it, and it's not going to be a problem. Now it's time to start putting our cells in. So I'm actually going to take a break from the slideshow, and I'm going to go to the website that you get on that instructional sheet. So that website that you would go to takes you to this site, and it's really nice that they give you everything in one spot. So you have everything from the BMS specifications to the software for your computer, all the build guides. I mean, they did a really good job getting everything together for you. You're going to go into the installation instructions, and you'll find that we even have multiple versions of those as well. The newest one that is going to be for our build is this 48 volt 280 JK BMS. Let's open that up, and you get this nice install guide. You could probably use this and build the battery fine. The video just helps you not make any of those weird catch-22 mistakes. But I wanted to come show you the manual, and I wanted to reference one spot inside the manual. I like this top-down photo that they gave us showing the layout, the orientation of the cells. So I wanted to show this to you. So you can tell this is the front of the box down towards the bottom, and the back of the box at the top. And it's negative to the left, positive to the right. And basically, everything just stays like negative to the left, positive to the right. And as you move down, flip the battery. Move down, flip the battery. Move down, flip the battery. So you can see how it lines up. So once you get those first two cells in place, from there it's just dominoes. It really actually fits together fairly easy. So with that in mind, you know what the polarity, the position of that cell is. I put that compression sheet in the photo on purpose because I wanted you to know that between each and every one of these cells and between the cell and the wall at the front and the back is a compression sheet. It's like a foam material so that when we put that front plate back on, it has a little bit of compression to make everything fit nice and tight together. So we just step through installing all of our cells. Boom. Right about there. There's the front pieces. I just wanted to show you those. And then we bolt that front bracket back on, that front plate, and you're like already halfway done. You know, like you're more than halfway done. So the next thing you need to do is go grab those bus bars that came with the battery box. And the layout for this, I have a few good pictures that you'll see as we go through, but again, the manual has actually a really good picture of this as well. But basically, we're looking at the back of the box here. It has the one that goes across. And then from there, you just connect what's available. You have to connect these two batteries, then you connect these two, then you connect these two. And it just, again, it dominoes down from there. So here's a slightly wider angle to show you what it looks like. When all the bus bars are in the right positions, you have a negative terminal and a positive terminal right here remaining in the front for your final connections to actually bridge these connections together and create an electrical circuit. And a full top-down picture looks like this. I wanted to show these are what you need to install the bus bars. You're going to use one of the washers and then one of these serrated, I guess you call them lock nuts, but not quite. They're not really lock nuts. And this is something I wanted to point out. This might be different than the one that Will built because he said there was like a lack of labeling and documentation on his battery, but they did a very good job on this one. On the actual electronical side of the battery build here, you can see NT4 and NT3 and NT2 and NT1 all in order for your connections. And then the wires themselves are also labeled NT1, NT2, NT3, and NT4. This ensures that you get the right connection in the right place. And like I said, they're going to come pre-connected on this particular build. So you'll be able to see what they look like originally with your own eyes. Let's go grab that foam that we had talked about before and pull off the adhesive and just stick it to the bottom of that BMS strip. Go ahead and bolt both of them down. And you can see I have the DKA on the left side. We're looking at the battery from the front. And the DKB on the right side. I think that's also backwards from what Will said. I think he said his was B and A and not A and B, and that's what confused him. I mean, let's go. I want to show the manual again because there are some pretty good indicators and warnings in here. So it says install these and tighten down the front plate, get the washers, get your BMS bracketed down, we're about to get to this step next, where you actually start wiring up everything. Here's the detailed build by build on the electronics of the front panel, which we don't have to worry about since it came pre-built. But I wanted to show you the warning that they give you down here. It says DKA, it shows it on the left, DKB on the right. It says the BMS batteries 0 to batteries 8 must connect DKA, and then batteries 9 to 16 must connect to DKB. And this is where it might be a little bit weird because you have A on the left and B on the right, but your connections for the actual interface, B is on the left and A is on the right. And I'm assuming that might be where Will made his mistake because it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you look at the manual, or if you don't disconnect anything, or if you just look at your labels as you're putting it together, you should be fine. So back to our build. Let's see. So we have the interfaces. I was using a bicycle torque wrench to actually, I hand tightened everything first. Then I came back through and used a torque wrench to properly torque everything down. This is where the step between novice and professional, this is one of those things that starts to change the quality of your work, making sure you know what torque specs are and how to use them appropriately. However, this is one of the gotchas. I don't have any indication through any of the build manuals and the documentation given to us what torque specs to use on the cells. So I just went on Google and I researched the Eve cells and what kind of torque settings are normally used, and I got anything ranging between 4 and 8 Newton meters. So I went with like 5 and nothing got messed up and it was fine. So good with 5, use your own discretion, do your own research since I don't have the manual telling us what to do. But the manual does tell you for the BMS connections, that ones that go into those center taps, 7 Newton meters is what they say to torque that to. And these are the screws you need to grab to start making those connections. So here is a top-down picture of how that looks. And this is actually not hard because the wires are already kind of located right near where they need to go. What might be a little bit weird and confusing is because they're all labeled like plus and minus. And you're like, why is this a minus and a plus, both touching the same point? And that might seem weird to you, but that is how it's supposed to be done. So it's fine. This is how it's supposed to be. And it does have, like I said, some good instructions in that manual they gave us. However, my gotcha was this guy right here. As I was torquing him down to the 7 Newton meters, I felt it start to strip. So I backed off and I did not tighten that one all the way. And then I honestly, that was like the third one I did. So all the rest of them, I also only tightened them up to about like between 4 and 5. My personal choice, because I don't want to strip anything, I would much rather take that chance that it's tight enough and then over tightening it. So I don't know where they got 7 Newton meters from, but I don't trust these brackets to handle that, honestly. That or my torque wrench somehow has gotten so far out of spec that I was actually tightening way more than I should have. So a couple of good pictures of what that looks like for you. Again, pause the video, take screenshots, do what you need to do. I'm hoping that these high quality photos can help you get this project done. And maybe, you know what, I just started paying for the professional version of Dropbox. So now I can even share documents with you. I could even put some of these high full resolution photos in a folder for you because these are huge. These are 45 megapixel photos. So you can zoom in and see every little detail. And just a couple of nice shots from the angles to make it look cool. And we got to the point now with everything hooked up inside the battery, it's time to put the faceplate back on. This is going to be a choice. I took everything out together and left it connected, but I did not feel comfortable reasserting everything back into the battery box by myself now that I have live battery cells in here with bus bars. I didn't want to take any chance to finagling it back into the box and having something accidentally short. So I chose to go ahead and disconnect the BMS strips that go across the top and bolt them on separately and then install the faceplate and connect them together just before I screwed the faceplate on, just to give me a little bit extra safety to ensure I don't accidentally ground out or short out anything and cause damage. Now, once you get to that step, it's done. You just need to go back to your black screws that we haven't used all of them yet, and just start filling in all the empty holes. You're going to have a hole here, a hole here, here, here. You have your grounding screw. You have some on the side. And then, of course, you have all the way around the perimeter of the top. So you go ahead and grab those screws, and that's it. Bolt it together. And I promise you, you can do it. The important thing you can't do by yourself, unless you're a way stronger person than me, is pick this thing up and carry it around. I went and I spent the money on one of these lifts I got mine from Amazon. I'll put that in the video description links as well. It's a lifesaver, man. Like, not only is it good for this particular battery build, but it was also great for racking my eco-worthy batteries into my server racks in the garage. So when you're saving thousands of dollars on your batteries, you can totally go spend a couple $100s on tools to make your life a lot easier. And then you'll have those really cool tools for whatever happens. Like now I have this really cool scissor lift so I can load and unload things from the pickup truck. So win-win. All right, so real quick, the build is done. The video is about to end, but there's one more really important gotcha. Even though the battery is built, you still need to know how to program the BMS. It does not come pre-programmed because you can put different cells in these battery boxes, so they don't know what you're going to be putting in there. This battery box, your breaker for the battery, to actually send power to the terminals, is there. You can just turn on the battery management system with the push button, even with the battery power turned off. Something that none of my other batteries do, funny enough, and it really should. That's a flaw in my opinion. So yeah, we're all charged up and good to go. Now you need to go download the JK BMS app, which is actually in the Google Play Store, and it's linked in the manual that I showed you earlier. I was really surprised to see that app was in the Play Store and not something I had to sideload. So that's really nice. It gives you a little bit of extra peace of mind. So let's go jump into the app. All right, so once you open up your JK BMS app, again, I'm running this on Android, turn on your BMS, and pretty much immediately you'll see the Bluetooth symbol pop up, and you can just click on that, and it's going to connect to the battery management system, and it's going to give you a ton of information. This is your landing screen, your status screen. So much awesome information in this one status screen. So there's only a couple of things we need to do in here, but they're super important, and these definitely could have been gotchas if you didn't know better. First thing you might have noticed when you powered on your battery for the first time is that there's an alarm state. It says there's an alarm. For me, to clear that alarm, I needed to come in here and change the default password to the BMS. The default password, according to the manual, I think is 123456. So I just changed it to something not the default, and the alarm state went away. But because you can buy this battery box and you can install any sort of battery cells inside of it, they have absolutely no way of knowing what you're going to be installing, so they can't pre-configure the settings for you. So what you need to do is go into Settings, which is the middle tab, click on Verify Password, and put in your new password that you changed it to. And once you verify your password, now you have the ability to actually make overrides to these settings. So out of the factory, this was set to a battery capacity of 40 amp hours, and we're using 314 amp hour cells. So I changed it to 314. I have not yet actually dug into all these advanced settings and see if there's some things I want to tweak, but that you can control so much. And I think it's wonderful that you can control all of this from the app, because I get less control than this with my other batteries when I have them connected to the serial interface and I'm using the full-blown thick client on a PC. So that's super awesome. The other thing you need to do when you're in here is change the battery profile. So there's lithium ion, there's LTO, and there's LiFePO4 LFP batteries. So obviously we're using the LFP batteries. So change your battery profile to LFP, change your battery capacity, change your password. Once you make those three things changed, very simple, you're done. Something else you might look into, I saw Will mention in his video that he had an inaccurate state of charge when he was doing a slow discharge against the system versus like a large whole home setup, which is constantly discharging and charging the system to keep the BMS kind of in sync. I read that some people like to change the battery capacity to a higher value, and it tends to help the BMS be more accurate in those slower drain scenarios. I won't recommend it since I've never done it and I haven't tested it, but I'm throwing that out there in case you want to go research it and find out if that's actually true. So yep, we changed our capacity, we changed our password, we changed to LiFePO4, save everything in here, and you're good to go. And that really, there's no reason to make this video longer than that. That's the build, that's it. Now, I would ask you share the video with anyone who might need it, you know, let them know there's ways to save money. It's not as difficult or as scary as you might have thought. So please share. That's my goal with this channel, is to share knowledge. And then if you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure you go to the comment section and ask them there so I can answer it for you and everyone else. And then check out the video description. So I'm sure I'll have plenty of links for this project, for some of the tools I use, and obviously the products. So go check that out and make sure you know where you're going. And that's about it. Once again, I just want to remind everyone that this is Patrick from Vicious Computers, and I'll see you next time.